hippie-ish chick stuck in middle suburbia, here to help you navigate your higher spiritual life in a consumer-driven world. Join me for discussions on practical applications of holistic ideals. Hey Jennifer, how are ya?
Hi, Shannon.
So I was wondering if you could just tell me a little bit about your Jennifer Rose Works.
Okay. Well, my name is Jennifer Rose, and I actually have my Roseworks studio where I teach yoga and I teach Koya. But my latest passion project, which I'm really hot about, and of course, I love yoga and I love to teach meditation and I love to teach inspired, authentic movement classes. What my
Mm.
latest passion project is the Juicy Crone Nation, which I'm actually dishing out spiritual solutions, using spiritual solutions for everyday problems.
Ooh, I
So that's
love
that's
that.
really what I've been doing lately.
Okay, awesome. And so have you launched that website yet?
I am in the midst of working out the website, but I do have my Facebook page, Juicy Crone Nation,
Okay,
up and
awesome.
running. Yes.
Cool. All right, I will link that in the show notes. And then as soon as you get that website up, I will edit the show notes and add that to it.
Okay.
Awesome. So I'm super excited to have you on today. Um, Today, I thought we had talked about maybe talking about spiritual maturity. I know that's something that's been weighing on your mind lately.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about spiritual maturity. I've been thinking a lot about how I myself have been listening to, just for example, these great spiritual teachers who have been with us for many, many years, kind of like showering us with all these spiritual truths. And I'll just name a few, Joyce Meyer, Wayne
Mm.
Dyer. Oh, their names rhyme. Ram Dass. There's Marianne Williamson. There's
My
Eckhart
favorite.
Tolle. There's right now there's Brene Brown. There's all these beautiful teachers out there showering us with these spiritual truths, which I believe that within any organized religion, man-made religion, or that there's these core truths that thread through all these traditions. And we've had so much access to these truths that a lot of them are like accepted and well known, but it seems to me like the truths, these universal truths, have been hijacked by our ideas of what they should be, and they've gotten a little bit off kilter and a little bit askewed. And I feel like one of them, for instance, that we can talk about specifically now is this idea that your thoughts create your reality.
Mm. So can you elaborate a little bit about the how they've gotten hijacked?
Well, this whole idea of like your thoughts create reality started even before Napoleon Hill put out that book, Think and Grow Rich.
Hmm.
But there's this cultural idea that your thoughts create your reality and that anything that you think can become your reality. And if you just think positive, everything's going to be great. Everything's going to be unicorns and it's going to be sunshine and it's going to be, your kids are going to be great. Your job's going to be great. And if you could just think the right thoughts. And
Mm.
while it is true that our minds are powerful and our thoughts are powerful and our thoughts are creative, this is true. There's been some pieces missing in the equation, and the pieces that are missing are calling us now to actually become more spiritually mature.
I
And I'll
like
just
that.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt. I kind of get on a
Oh, no,
roll.
no, no. No, you're good. You're good. I like that though because there's a lot of us who are working on trying to think positively and, create our own reality, and it doesn't happen, and it doesn't happen the way that we think it should, and it doesn't happen the way that, we see that the lady across the street has, and, the person next door has, and why isn't my business flourishing? Like, what am I doing wrong? And we kind of internalize it because we keep hearing these people going, well, if you would just think positive, if you would just manifest, then all this will happen. And then we kind of just like get anxious and internalize it back on ourselves and go, what am I doing wrong? Am I
Mm-hmm.
not spiritual enough? Am I not
Mm-hmm.
Christian enough? What is wrong with me? So can
Mm.
you elaborate on that a little bit?
That I think you said it perfectly. We start to like blame ourselves and we just fall into that trap. I'm not enough. I'm not
Hmm.
spiritual enough. I'm not Christian enough. I'm not, God doesn't love me enough. I don't love
Mm,
myself enough. My husband doesn't love me enough. My wife doesn't love me enough. There's this self blame. And then once we get into that self blame, it's just like, I got to try harder. I got to strive harder. I got to work harder. I got to do this course. I got to work with that teacher. I got to get my special manifesting journal and write out my perfect life. And then when we don't get that perfect life,
yeah.
we throw a tantrum. We actually literally, like a teenager, we lay down on the floor and we kick our legs up in the air and we throw a tantrum and we're like, God, you didn't give me what I wanted. I put in my
Hmm.
order. I told you everything that I wanted. It has to be blue. It has to have four wheels. It has to be 5G. I put in my order, but you didn't deliver what I wanted. And now I'm just going to pout in a corner.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that is what spiritual principles or this law of the power of our mind, it's true, our minds are powerful, but we're kind of like acting like teenagers. We have this magic wand of our thoughts, the power of our mind, and we're like trying to use this magic wand. We're just like kids, and then when we can't use it or we don't know how to use it, we throw a fit.
Right. Yeah. And I'm definitely guilty of that because, I feel like when you're in a society and you're in a consumer driven society,
Hmm.
you kind of are like, oh, they've made it, they've made it. Okay, if I can just be like them, then I'll have made it too. And we put ourselves in situations that we know are not what we're supposed to be doing, especially if you're any kind of enlightened at all, even just a fraction enlightened, and know these principles in your soul.
Hmm.
We still compromise ourselves, and we still compromise our values because it's quote unquote the societal norm to
Hmm.
have the big house and the new car and the every different pair of Nikes, and get your hair done every week, and this and that and that. And so because we don't want to be weird or not normal according to society standards, then we compromise our values, and then we pitch the hissy
Yeah.
fit because it doesn't happen.
Yeah, and really that's all, that we're indoctrinated to compare, and really
Hmm.
we're indoctrinated to believe that someone else is happy.
Right.
And that for us to be happy, because we all want to be happy, right? Really that's really all we want to do, is we just want to be happy. And we're comparing ourselves to other people, what they have, what they do, what they seem to have, the success that this perceived success that they, in our eyes, that they have. And we believe that that's going to make us happy, when really the truth is that we have no idea what would make us happy. We have
Exactly.
no earthly idea. And that's what I'm talking about, like the power of the mind. Like we're using the power of our mind to, let's say, manifest a partner, or to manifest, I'm putting those in air quotes, to
Hmm.
manifest a car or a house, a career. We're using the power of our mind to manifest something when we actually have no idea what would make us happy. We have, number one, we don't know what happiness feels like. We have no idea what contentment feels like. We've lost the
Mm,
capacity to be content. And then we have no idea what would make us happy. We're using the rules and the laws of the world. And then we're saying, oh, I'm going to I'm going to go for what I think will make me happy using these laws of the world, when actually I've never checked in with the great self or the deep self or the Holy Spirit. I don't even know how, the inner teacher, Jesus,
hmm.
God. We've never really gone within and asked, wow, what would make me happy?
Right. So let me ask you, why do you think that we tend to emulate people like sports stars in Hollywood and, you know, the the upper echelon over people like Ram Dass or, Mother Teresa and the people who are content and joyful but don't have all that shit?
Um, well, I mean, really, there's nothing wrong with having stuff. There's really
Right.
nothing wrong with it. I'm not saying don't have beautiful things, don't have gorgeous things. I'm saying there is this desire to sidestep getting to know ourselves. There's this fear that if we actually stop and stand still and get quiet to know what our heart's desire is, that we might not like ourselves. So
Mm,
let me just sidestep that piece and just go for what looks like makes someone else happy. Let me just go for that. Let me just go for this idea that if I'm a famous YouTuber or if I have a million likes, that I'm successful, rather than allowing this deep inner knowing flow forth and guide us to what would make us
mm,
happy. And that's just really part of our consumer culture. Like, that's just what a consumer culture looks like:
right.
external, external validation, external striving, rather than like going within to see what guidance has to say about all of that.
I love that. That makes so much sense. I mean, it really does make so much sense that we're so obsessed with what other people think and how we look to other people and how, we take their measure of success and hold it as a yardstick against ourselves instead of using our own truth as a yardstick of success and being happy with that.
Yeah. And that, so two things I want to say about that. One is there is an undercurrent, there's a belief that we all hold. This is everybody. If someone says I don't feel this way, I don't believe them. There's this there's this feeling, there's this belief, it's an unconscious belief that if we stopped and held still and we actually looked at ourselves, that we wouldn't be able to bear who we are. We wouldn't be able to bear it because it would be so ugly and so gross and so filled with darkness, because we're so used to ignoring who we are, that you probably got some stuff bottled up that you've been saving up since you were a kid. So we're so used to looking outside of ourselves that we recoil from the idea of looking inward because we're so
Mm.
afraid of what we'll see.
Yeah, I think Marianne Williamson talked about that in her book, A Return to Love. That sounds really familiar from that.
Yeah.
And I think it's inbred in us from childhood, because we when we're little kids, we want our parents to, be happy with us. And inadvertently, as parents, we're like, if you're a good boy or little girl, you can stay up later. Or if you're a good boy or little girl, then I won't yell. Or, you'll make mommy happy. Or if you eat everything off your plate, you can have cake. So we're always like looking for that external like um, reward system, and we always, I think we grow up with the fact that, or the idea that we think that our happiness comes from without as opposed to within. So like if you're sitting there eating dinner as a little kid and you're like, you know what, I really don't like chicken,
Mm-hmm.
chicken makes me feel yucky, and we're okay, and everybody's okay with that, then I think then that kind of can teach us to be more self-regulatory as opposed to exteriorly looking for that validation.
Right. And I think that gets back to the point that you were talking about, like, you know, we look at the other people and we think that that would make us happy because, and then we do things, we organize our lives based around what would make other people happy. Like our
Hmm.
whole lives are revolving around doing things that would make our kids happy, that would make our family happy, that would make us seem presentable, that would make us seem acceptable, that would make us seem funny, that would make us seem witty, that would make us seem smart. We organize
Oh
our
my
whole, I mean,
God.
we're doing this whole song and dance. And then
Yes.
how can we manifest what would make us happy when we don't even know who we are? so
Right.
so I'm like trying to manifest a life based on this false person to make this false person happy. So how can that work?
That resonates so hard with me right now. Oh my gosh. I love that you said that, because yes, we're doing this whole song and dance for someone else. It's like we're on a stage and we're just performing for other people, not even doing the dance that we want to do
Mhm.
or singing the song that we want to sing,
Mhm.
because it's not presentable.
Mhm.
It's too loud or it's too obnoxious,
Mhm.
or you know 48-year-olds don't listen to hip hop, or
Mhm.
like why only goth people listen to heavy metal, and we have all these ideas that like one person said this and then it just became the Bible.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. So, spiritual maturity. Spiritual maturity asks us to really become aware that we're doing that, and then to
Mm.
stop and like go in and find out who we really are. And I guarantee you, yeah, it might be scary. Yes, because there's probably some shit that you've been squashing down for many years, but there's techniques to move yourself through those moments. And I assure you, once you release that cork of who you are, and maybe the first layer of gunk kind of comes out, I assure you that the shining beauty of who you are is there waiting for you. It's like, in
Ooh.
the Bible, they talk about tearing the veil. This is the veil that they talk about, making those rents in the veil, and behind the veil that we've created. And now we're
Hmm.
deciding to grow up. We're like growing up at 50, 40, and 50. We're growing up and
Right.
moving into spiritual maturity. We're taking those truth teachings that all those beautiful teachers have taught us, and we're moving into maturity with it. And behind that veil is the beauty of who we are, and the burning away of that false identity that we created.
So I'm going to go back to what you said a couple minutes ago, and you said like there's things that we can do in our day-to-day life to get that top layer of gunk off. What is one of those things that you can do?
Wow. Um, when when you decide, when you make a statement to your deep self, or Jesus, or God, or the universe, or the cosmos. Let's just say when you call out or call in, either way, to a power greater than yourself and say, I'm ready to really know who I am. And you start doing some practices like taking long walks with yourself, or doing some meditation, or taking long baths, you will start to feel feelings that maybe you haven't felt for a long time: fear, anger, resentment. It seems like we've all been like repressing or ignoring or just sort of disassociating with these parts that aren't chipper and happy and blissful and unicorns. And I'm like, I'm manifesting the life I love.
Mhm.
Like those feelings are there because we're these multi-dimensional beings. We're the whole shebang. We have all
Yes.
these feelings. And I would say the the first step is to start to call out and to make the declaration that you're ready to be your whole self. Call out or call in, and then
Hmm.
begin to feel your feelings without commentary. And then learn how to tend to yourself. And what do I mean by that? I just give a quick story. A year ago, I had, when I was having this like I just noticed that I could just disassociate and leave my body, could just check out of any situation at any time because I didn't want to feel who I was. I had an auto
Hmm.
accident. It was a very, very minor auto accident, but I was so jolted and shaken, but I was so committed. I was so deeply committed to feeling who I was without trying to change me, without saying I was a good girl or a bad girl, or without trying to be a good wife, a good daughter, a good student, a good spiritual practitioner. I just made that commitment to stay with myself, to be with myself, to tend to my feelings. And I just got in the bathtub with Hudson salt and I just cried and cried. I didn't say anything about the crying. I didn't make any comments about the crying. Then I got out of the bathtub and then I just sat on the couch and I just cried and I cried. And I felt like that accident jolted out those years of self denial, self uh, self repression, self judgment, self criticism, because I have all these feelings. And
Hmm.
once I had that cry, I cried for hours. Once I had that cry, I calmed myself down. And then I just said, I got you, baby. I got you. I got you. It doesn't mean anything that you had
Mm,
an
that's
accident.
so
It doesn't
good.
mean anything about you being not good enough or not spiritual enough. It just means shit happens and shit's going to happen. And I got your back.
And that's a good point there too, right? Because we always feel like if we're not manifesting hard enough or we're not spiritual enough, then, bad stuff's not going to
Right.
happen to us. I said that
Yeah.
wrong, but um if we manifest hard enough, bad stuff is not going to
Right.
happen to us. But like you said, shit happens. And sometimes we need shit happen to
Mm-hmm.
jolt us out of our
Mm-hmm.
complacency.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes it takes a physical shaking. Dr. John Douillard, who is an Ayurvedic doctor, he talks about like sometimes we have to like physically do vibrational work in order to break up the trauma and the repression that we hold in our body physically. So, I think that was a great example. Like you physically had an impact in your motor vehicle accident, and then you let it out, like it was released. And that's the best way to get that shit out of there, is to just like release it and just cry or yell
Mm-hmm.
or whatever you need to do in order to let it go. And you felt so much better, and then you had that calming from Holy Spirit and universe saying, I got you.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
And yeah, so then I build a trust relationship with myself. The more I
Mm,
practice this, when I experience my emotions, I don't, I try my best not to judge or create a story. I just notice, oh, I'm having this emotion. I got you, baby. I got you. It's okay. It doesn't mean
mhm.
anything. It doesn't mean you're good. It doesn't mean bad. You're bad. But you can trust me to you can trust me to feel your emotions. So I'm like having this like tender conversation with myself. And when I learn to trust myself,
Yeah.
then I trust God. So I don't have to try so hard. Then God leads me of what I want because God knows more about what's going to make me happy.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's so sad that, it takes women until their late 40s, 50s, sometimes even 60s to learn to be okay with themselves and finally drop that persona of, trying to please everybody. And then of course, society is like, oh, she's just in
Mm-hmm.
menopause and she's having a midlife crisis. And but no, it's not a midlife crisis. We're sick of your bullshit. Like, we're tired of playing the
Mm-hmm.
games that we've been playing for all these years. And it breaks my heart because I have a teenage daughter, and I know that she's got 30 plus years that she's going to be playing these bullshit games. And I wish there was some way that we could like kind of ease our girls through this time, which I really think, I'm hoping, like your Juicy Crone Nation, like we can call up an army of crones to be there for these girls and show them, like, you don't have to be like what all these Instagrammers are doing, and what, like, you can be your stupid, goofy self, and you don't have to like be this clone of everybody else to be liked.
Yeah, it's 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 frustrating. It is frustrating and it's sad. And we will have all these
Hmm.
emotions. But I believe the more that I can lead by an example by tending to my emotions and being honest with myself about my emotions without creating a story about my emotions and about my feelings, then I can lead by example to these beautiful girls um, who are coming up in this world, who seem to be coming up a little bit different than us. I don't think they're going to take the bullshit that long.
Yeah. No, I honestly, you know what? You're absolutely right, because I know my daughter has called me out on my own
Yeah.
bullshit a few times. Like when I've thrown a hissy fit because she won't, clean her room or whatever, and I've said things that I probably shouldn't have said, that, my mom and dad said to me growing up. And it was just like, oh, okay. She'll text me and she'll be like, hey, what the fuck was that? And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
sorry. Who's the 16-year-old now?
Exactly. Exactly. So I have a
Yeah.
lot of hope.
So yeah,
I
I
have a lot of
agree.
hope, but we are being called right now, us women of a certain age, we are being called right now
Hmm.
to forgive ourselves for not knowing then what we know
Yes.
now. We,
And maybe we're leading by example, not the girls that are not beneath, but behind us, but we're leading by example for the women that are in this right now, because we see so many women who are playing the game and, going
hmm
along with life and just tootling along, and inside they're like
hmm
screaming. But it's so, they have no idea where to divert that energy. They have no idea why they're feeling the way that they're feeling, because it's not normal. So they're getting put on
hmm
antidepressants because, we have to like go along with what everybody else thinks
hmm
is normal. So, I think it's good that maybe we're leading the charge to say, hey, you're not weird. This is how it's supposed
hmm
to be.
And there's a way to
So,
navigate rediscovering who you are. And then also, I would
yes.
love to have another conversation about this as a compassionate as possible conversation about all these this this actually epidemic of these autoimmune diseases that are weird and wild, these self-attacking, self the body attacking itself, these diseases that are rising up. I know I've had experience with adrenal fatigue, and I know that you've had some experiences, so we can have another conversation about that.
Absolutely. Yes, I definitely want to have a conversation about that with another episode. So, is there anything else you want to add to it? Because we could probably wrap
That's
it up.
fine. Yeah, I
Um,
think we're good for now. Thank you so much, Shannon.
oh gosh, no problem. Thank you for being on here and joining me with this. And again, I will put in the show notes the Juicy Crone Nation and your
Hmm.
future website. It has been so awesome talking to
Okay.
you, Jen.
Thank you.
Thank you
Bye
so
now.
much.